I know at home, I know that I'm home when someone has prayer requests for vehicle far and they say far. That's my language. We sang this morning about lifting up the trumpet. Jesus is coming again. Do we believe that?
Yes.
Do we believe that time is short?
Yes.
I believe so. And I like prevention. Oh, this will come up here. Oop, did it fall off? That'll do it. See if they communicate. There it goes. What I like to talk about is preparing the brain for battle. Do you believe that there's a battle going on out there?
Yes.
A battle between good and evil. And as we look at that battle, is that battle taking place today? Do you deal with a battle between good and evil? But I believe, as Daniel 12:1 says, it's going to be even worse. He says a time as never before. And that's going to be terrible awful. Probably the toughest time I've ever seen is I go to Africa, and we just finished our 14th program over there, lifestyle program. And as I talk with Tutsis who were involved in the genocide, over 1 million people killed in 100 days. People who, they have no living relative, none. No parents, no children, no cousins, no aunts, no uncles, not one. They were all murdered and killed. I can't go into how bad it was. There's children here. I mean, I didn't know people did this kind of stuff to each other. And it wasn't just to annihilate the Tutsis. They caused pain, psychological pain and physical pain, just to get them back. It was, I've never seen anything. It's going to be worse than that. It's going to be worse than the Holocaust. It's going to be worse than the time when Christ was here. Are you ready for that? I can tell you that my brain is not ready to have what happened to wives in front of their husbands in Rwanda. And then to the children. I mean, it's way out there. You wouldn't even think about it. And how do you prepare your brain for that? And that's what I'd like to talk about this morning. And I believe in preparation. As I mentioned last night, I'm in the fire service, or we say fire service. And I go and I teach kids fire prevention. And we see much less fires today than when I started in 1980 because this right here. The second major reduction is due to the programs when fire departments go into the schools every October in remembrance of the Great Chicago Fire. The main reason we have less fires today is because of code changes, electric code mostly. But I go in and I teach these kids about home fire safety, and when those kids take that, and as they grow up, they apply that. And it's amazing when I'm only spending 30 minutes there with them, and then I go out and we have fun with the fires. And at the very beginning, I'll ask them questions. Tell me this, and tell me this. And they remember it from just a 30-minute talk the year before. And so it sticks. And then when they grow up and they become parents, they apply those fire safety tips in their homes. And we have less home fires today, or residential fires. We teach them. We have a amen, and we teach them about, how to get down low into smoke, and a lot of prevention we teach these little kids. The firemen come in all turned out so that when a fireman does come in the house and this little fella sees this guy, he doesn't think he's Darth Vader. He knows he's a friend because what happens is they've met him in school, and we get out there and we squirt water with them, and they know that it's okay to go to these guys. It's prevention. It's so important. Let's say there's a car wreck and the car's all mangled up. Is that time for us to get off the truck and the guy who's on Jaws today, ooh, where's that menu? how do you run this thing? Let me see. No, there's someone inside, and we've got to rip that car apart because someone could be dying in there. We have to train. We have to be prepared. This is one we're not prepared for. It was a situation which a little girl just got her driver's license from Asheville, comes into our fire district and got Daddy to get off and let her drive. He wouldn't let her drive on I-40, said it was too dangerous. And she gets in the car, and she starts down Waterville Road, and the road is very narrow and much more narrow now as the river washed it away. But her front right tire dropped off, so what'd she do? She jerked it to the left and shot out to the river. We didn't have swift water training. And fortunately, these river guides, the family lived. So there's a problem. We were not prepared for this. So what do? Put our team. This is 8 of them. We've got 14 of them now. And it was just timely that we trained these guys. We have this rescue. This family was saved with our swiftwater team. But then this happened. September 27th last year. It's worse than that even now. This part right here, I was sitting, let's see if this, I was going over, I got a call from TDOT, and they said, Walt, have you heard from the dam? We hear the dam is breached. I said, no, I haven't heard from them. They said, we can't get a hold of them. Can you call them? I tried to call the dam. They wouldn't answer me either. And so I decided to get in my truck and head to the dam. This is a 3.5 mile marker. I don't know if you can see it. It won't work up on there. But right here is where I got to as I'm coming along right through here, right here. And guess what happened right there? The road started falling right in front of me. God is good, is He not? Amen. And I was able to radio back to my guys on the Tennessee side and shut down I-40. On the Tennessee, the eastbound, I called Atlanta, have them shut down the west side, and we didn't have any deaths. God was so good. But you see that where I was, and what happened was we were able to, it took us about an hour to back up, but after we left, that whole area just collapsed. If I was not able to shut down the interstate behind us, those people probably would have died because just as we left, shut the road down so more cars wouldn't come in. And there's tractor trailers, and God is just so good. Well, what happened this day is our swift water team actually did over 200 separate extractions as people were. This is an interesting one. I went across the river to do 2 evacuations on a lady that was 87 and another lady that had MS. And when I came back across the river, I'll show you what it looked like. I don't know if I can make this work. Now, the water's not high yet. It's coming right to the base of the bridge. Right at maybe 10 minutes later, the water was significantly over the bridge. That's how high the water was coming up. Let's see. That's down to Newport. Plumb gone. Walter, my son, who was on that swiftwater team, he saw a house go down the French Broad. It was a 2-story house, just floating down the river. There's a lot of mobile homes. Just to kind of give you an idea of the devastation we had. The bridges, the Interstate I-40 is still down. At the earliest they'll probably open it back up is 28. At the earliest. We'll probably have westbound opened up, doing both lanes, but I'll tell you it's going to be extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Preparing. Do you need to prepare to go into a house fire? Yes. You do? Yes. You've got this officer over here just did a 360 and looking for children and looking for if there's propane tanks back there, any other exposures. What do we need to do to put this house out as quickly as possible? Yes, the house is totally involved. It's totally gone. We still need to put it out. But how are we going to do it? You got to be prepared. How to prepare the brain for battle. I mean, we're getting ready, we're going up against someone that's very strong. Would you agree? But do we have someone stronger? Absolutely we do. God is much stronger than Satan. And we have to prepare the brain through some issues I'm going to talk about today, mostly from Harvard University, from Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic. I find that they're very important. The first thing we have to look at is the fuel that you put in your brain. Do you put good fuel in the brain? See, it's kind of interesting. Can you help me? Can you hear me? So, here we go. Good. So what happens is, if he eats something, it's going to go in his mouth. He's going to chew it up with his teeth. It's going to go down his esophagus, down into his stomach, and then down into his small intestines. And it's going to go into the villi and into his blood. If he puts a Twinkie in his mouth, he's going to chew it up. It's going to go down into his stomach. It's going to break it down, go into the small intestines, and to the duodenum, into the blood, and he's going to have what? Twinkie blood. The challenge is he's also going to have a Twinkie brain. Do you want a Twinkie brain? No. Thank you, sir. And so we got to put the right fuel in the brain for it to work right. Now, someone put the right fuel in this car. Yes? Anybody know how much that car cost? $300,000 to $400,000? $1 million. They're $8.5 million. They are going to be particular on which fuel they put in that car. How about this car? It's the highfalutin Bugatti. Any idea on that car? That is $18.9 million, almost right at $19 million. They are going to put the proper fuel in this car. Would you agree? Absolutely. This is a little car that we have comes to see me. And then it ended up being more horsepower than this. It wasn't fast enough for him. The man's a 7. To Level Cross, North Carolina. Who lives in Level Cross, North Carolina? No? Who lives in Level Cross? It's right outside of Randleman. He wears a cowboy hat. Mr. Petty. He sent this car to Mr. Petty. Mr. Petty's guys cranked this car up to 1,500 horsepower. He put 2 fuel pumps on it, 2 fuel lines. The fuel lines are 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Mr. Petty said you can no longer go to a gas station anymore. You have to go to an airport, and it has to be 115 octane. He says if you put anything less than that, your engine will not run. God made our brains as race cars. Not 98% octane, not 87%, not 93 or 98, whatever, 85, whatever it is. God wants us to put good fuel in our brains. We were talking this morning about what some good fuels. Is fruit good fuel? Yes, fruit's very good fuel. Did you know that's what they ate in the Garden of Eden? Yeah, that's good fuel. Yes, we'll talk about that, some of it in a minute. And how about this car? Now, I find this is interesting, and let me just read from the manual on fuel for a car. Note, damage caused by wrong fuel. Even small amounts of the wrong fuel could result in damage of the fuel system, the engine, and the emission control system. Never refuel using diesel, more than 10% ethanol, more than 3% methanol, additives containing metal. If you accidentally refuel with the wrong fuel, do not switch the engine on. Just stop. According to Mercedes, call us. We will haul it to the Mercedes shop. We'll drain all that wrong fuel out, and we'll put the right fuel in. Do we ever worry about putting the wrong fuel in? The Twinkies? I go some places and kids don't know what Twinkies are. I say, that's a good mama. That's a good daddy. But look at this over here. This is really important, y'all. Let's look at this analogy, and I like analogies. Even small amounts of the wrong fuel could result in damage to the fuel system and engine. The repair costs are high. Jesus used analogies, didn't he? What did he call them? Parables. I understand that kind of thing. I'm just no farm boy from Squatchy. I understand that. Just simple thing. The brain is the organ and instrument of the mind and controls the whole body. In order for the other parts of the system to be healthy, the brain must be healthy. In order for the brain to be healthy, the blood must be pure. By correct habits of eating and drinking, the blood is kept pure. The brain will be properly nourished. This is physiology, y'all. This is, if you ever wondered how physiology worked, who do we go to? God. He's the one that made us. And what he's saying here is, before you treat the body, you must treat the brain. Because the brain controls the whole body. But before you treat the brain, you must treat the blood. Because the blood is the fuel to the brain. And how does God say how to treat the brain, the blood? What you eat and what you drink will affect the blood, then the blood affects the brain, and then the brain affects the whole body. You understand that? Who works in healthcare? You know, I used to really enjoy working with vent patients. And, you know, the alarm goes off. You can either start at the patient or you can start back at the vent. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Where's our anesthetist? He understands that. Yes, there you go. And so, you know, either way, but it's a system by which you track this way or this way. Why is that alarm going off? God is very systematic. Are the stars systematic? Yes. Yeah, in Sabbath school, I mentioned that the furthest galaxy is 13 billion light years away. And they all just work right together. Our body is in a certain system, and we have to learn that system as we spoke about last night. Many times we study the wrong system. We've got to study the physiology system. And then even here, 1 Corinthians 1, whether therefore you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. And why did God have not said, whatever you do all to the glory of God? Would that not have encompassed everything? But why did he say, whether therefore you eat or drink? It reminds me of the fourth commandment. I was speaking this morning and I was speaking on weekly rest. Last Sabbath I spoke on daily rest. I'm doing a 31-day program right now, and today I talked about weekly rest, and next week I'll be talking about yearly rest. But today I talked about weekly rest, and it must be important because God said, what? Remember. Why did he say remember? Because he loves us. He did not want to forget. You may say, Johnny, remember, be home by X time. Remember, because you know he might forget. He might get playing and forget. Sometimes we get busy with the world and we forget. And so God, out of all of those 10, he didn't have to say, remember now, don't kill people. He should have said, remember to obey your mom and dad, because kids don't do that no more. But he said, remember to stop one day of the week and spend it with me. And we're doing that right now. And God gave us this, whether therefore ye eat or drink, because he loves us. That's so important. Whatever you do all to the glory of God. Is there certain foods and drink that would not bring glory to God? Absolutely. The Twinkie? Yes. I'm reading from Harvard University right now. Think about it. Your brain is always on. It takes care of your thoughts and your breathing, your heartbeat, your senses. It works 24/7, even while you're asleep. This means your brain requires a constant supply of fuel. That fuel comes from the food you eat, according to Harvard. And what's in that fuel makes all the difference. Put it simply, what you eat directly affects the structure and function of your brain and ultimately your mood. Like an expensive horror. Your brain functions best when it gets only premium fuel. And the Harvard says only. Not the majority of the time, not sometime, but only premium fuel. Just like that Bugatti. Would you put kerosene in that Bugatti? Diesel in that Bugatti? No. I remember one night we were coming back from far. It's when I was down in SMC going to school. It's when I started firefighting. And it was, you're tired. You fought a house fire. And we get back, it's back in the days when we used to ride the tailboard. And so we come around the back of the fire station, we come up to the fuel pumps, and we had two kinds of fuel pumps. We had diesel and we had gasoline. And I'm riding in the back, I'm tired, I'm half froze, and I get off. The driver gets out, he's real tired, and he puts in the fuel line and starts pumping. Uh-oh, wrong fuel. He stopped, he had turned the engine off, and we then had to have the mechanic come in, pump the tank just like what Mercedes said we'd have to do. You have to be careful of putting in only the right fuel, or the machine won't work right. Our brain will not work. I remember a surgeon that used to work with me. He told me, Walt, he says, if you want to help a person that is sick, and you want to help reverse that disease or diseases in which they're dealing with, he says you got to do a couple things. One is you have to make sure nothing bad goes into the blood, because the blood is a fuel to the body. He says make sure nothing bad will go into that blood. Then you have to provide the blood what it needs, the fats, the proteins, the carbohydrates, the vitamins, which are the catalyst that makes the fats, proteins, and carbohydrates work. Then you have to have the minerals, which is the catalyst, which makes the vitamins work, which makes the other guys work. You got to have your hormones. You got to have your oxygen, your water. All that stuff has to be in the blood to make the cell fire right. It's a system. He said then, once you have that good running piece of blood, you then have to have good perfusion. And have we not told that perfect health is perfect circulation? That's right. Unfortunately, just like an expensive car, your brain can be damaged if you ingest anything other than premium fuel. Your brain can be damaged if you ingest anything other than premium fuel, not Twinkies. If substances from low premium fuel, such as what you get from processed or refined foods, gets in the brain, now this is Harvard University, y'all, the brain, it has little ability to get rid of them. Is that not amazing? Diets high in refined sugars, for example, are harmful to the brain. In addition, worse is a huge issue out there that we're dealing with today, and oxidative. Multiple studies have found a correlation between a diet high in refined sugars and impaired brain function, and even a worsening of symptoms of mood disorders such as depression. You hear that word mood again, and we see that as we look at research, mood comes up a lot when we're not taking care of the brain. It makes sense if your brain is deprived of good quality nutrition, or if free radicals or damaging inflammatory cells are circulating within the brain enclosed space, further contributing to the brain tissue injury. Now look at this. Harvard says consequences are to be expected. I mean, if I go out there and I take a hammer and I smash my thumb, it's expected it's going to hurt. If I walk in front of a tractor trailer, it's expected I'm not going to do too good. Harvard says, what? Let's go back. If your brain is deprived from good quality nutrition, or if free radicals or damaging inflammatory cells are circulating with the brain enclosed space, further contributing brain tissue injury, consequences are to be expected. What's interesting is that for many years, the medical field did not fully acknowledge the connection between mood and food. So could we be having behavioral issues just solely based on what they ate?
That's right.
Could you be having mood issues because solely what you ate? Absolutely. And too many times we put people on medication, children, and it could be just what you're feeding them that could make a huge difference. I know I go into the school system and I ask little kids, what happens when you eat sugar? And the kids will tell you, it makes them bounce off the wall. They will tell you that. Today, fortunately, the field of nutritional psychiatry is finding there are many consequences and correlations between not only what you eat, how you feel, and how you ultimately behave for bacteria that live in your gut. And that's a whole nother weekend. The gut biome is huge, y'all. And we've got to protect that gut biome. Anybody ever ridden a steam train? What if they threw in toilet paper? It would not have power to go up the mountain. It's true. And even coal has different BTUs. I was flying out and I was speaking out at South Dakota, and I was sitting on the plane with this fellow who works at the coal mines out there. And he said, y'all's coal out of the Kentucky mines have a lot more BTUs to run steam trains. He says, ours isn't enough BTU. Avocados, beets, blueberries, broccoli, celery, green leafy vegetables, rosemary, turmeric, asparagus, walnuts. Those are the guys that are good nutrition for the brain. There's a lot of other foods that are good for us, but those are big brain foods. Another item that CDC and WHO has identified as the second major key is activity. Psychology Today reports neuroscientists around the globe agree that physical activity is the best medicine to maintain brain health throughout one's lifespan. And that's pretty good, isn't it? Yes. That one right there. There you go. Yes, ma'am. It's interesting, WHO back probably about 18 years ago asked every physician in the world to prescribe this medication to their patients. WHO asked every physician, put out, requesting that every physician in the world prescribe this medication. They asked the CDC to ask every physician in America to prescribe this medication. They said if every patient would take that and use it, it would save at least 4 million lives. I believe it would have saved far more than 4 million lives. The medication that WHO was talking about that they called medication was what? Exercise. Exercise is what the CDC was asking. Exercise improves the structure, function, and activity of your brain. Now, what do we talk about this morning? Preparing the brain for battle. To deal with Satan. To deal with the issues today and the issues to come. We got to be careful of what we put in as food, and we need to exercise. Psychology Today continues, there are many reasons that exercise is good for your brain. These include increased blood flow, which improves cerebral vascular health, the release of neurotropic factors like BDNF, which stimulates the growth of new neurons, and the benefits of glucose and lipid metabolism, which brings nourishment to the brain. People who regularly perform aerobic exercise, such as running, jogging, brisk walking, swimming, exercising, jumping on a mini trampoline, that's a great little tool to use, have greater scores in neuropsychological function and performance tests that measure certain cognitive functions, such as attentional control, inhibitory control, cognitive flexibility, working memory, declarative memory, spatial memory, and information processing speed. Do you ever wonder about your information processing speed? Yeah. I remember it was years ago. I used to have to write budgets. And we wrote them out by hand on those, what are those papers called? Pardon? Yes. Well, no, it was before spreadsheets. It was like a ledger. We had to write it out in pencil. Take it to court. And everything was driven by cost per patient day or hours per patient day. And you take it to corporate, and corporate goes, no, I want you to cut this, increase this. And so we had to readjust every single And it would take me 2 weeks, around at least 80 hours a week, to just do the first one. And then it took a little less. And then this thing came out called a spreadsheet. Remember Lotus? Yes. I remember I was at corporate office and I was sitting there and they were teaching us to use this thing. And you hit F7 and it took about a minute to crunch this huge spreadsheet. But I noticed the guy sitting beside me from Durham, his would be finished in maybe 3 to 5 seconds. And here all of us were waiting and waiting and waiting. So the next time they asked us to hit F7, we punched F7 and I looked at his real quick. Boom, it was fast again. And it took us a while and I said, "What'd you do to your machine?" He goes, "Nothing." I said, "No, yours is a lot faster, Bus." He said, "Well, I upgraded it from 2 meg RAM to 4 meg RAM." And those are all in computers say, "That's nothing." What is your processing speed? How fast can you figure things out? Is that important to figure things out quickly when Satan dangles something in front of you and say, "You want to do this?" Do you need fast processing speed? You do. The transient effect of exercise on cognition include improvement in the most executive functions like attention, working memory, cognitive flexibility, inhibitory control, problem solving. Is that important as we deal with a time of never before? Is it important that we make good decisions in this time of war? Yes, it is. And so exercise increases your brain's ability to solve problems. Exercise increases your decision-making ability. And information processing speed for a period of up to 2 hours after exercising. Now it's interesting, Dr. Walter Kempner at Duke University found that exercising 4 times a day was significantly more effective than just once a day. So if you exercise 4 times a day, and if after every time you exercise, you increase your brain processing speed for 2 hours, how many hours did you get of the day of a higher processing speed? 8 hours. Is that not cool? By just exercising. Not a drug, just exercising. And Walt, I don't have much money. How much does it cost to go out there and walk down and come back? Another item, hydration. Our brains depend on proper hydration to function optimally. Brain cells require a delicate balance between water and various elements to operate. And when you lose too much water, that balance is disrupted. Your brain cells lose efficiency. We want our brains to be effective. And we lose efficiency when we are dehydrated. I went back to school and got another degree. And I remember one of the courses that I was taking, it was on different labs, and we were doing labs on ourselves, and every day, 4 times a day, and one of them was measuring hydration. And what the professor had us do is just take your labs and this hydration one, monitor it. Everybody, 100% of the class was dehydrated that whole week, 4 times a day for 7 days. He says, now what I want you to do, I want you to take your body weight divided by 2, and because University of California at Davis found that it takes a half a gallon of water to run a 5-year-old to sit on the couch, up to a person 128 pounds. That's not activity, that's to sit on the couch, a half a gallon. But those over 128 pounds, you need your body weight divided by 2, and you've heard that. And then if you're more active, you need more. The state of Tennessee down in Bell Buckle tells me that I'm to drink a gallon of water a day because I'm a fireman, proactively in the event that I have to deal with a structure fire. And then in rehab, I have to drink more water. And so this professor the second week said, okay, what I want you to do, if you're less than 128 pounds, I want you to drink a half a gallon of water plus a little extra based on your activity. Those of you who are over 128 pounds, I want you to drink body weight divided by 2 plus more based on your activity. We measured our labs how many times a day? 4 for 7 days. 75% of the class was dehydrated the second week. The third week, the professor says, here's what I want you to do. There's a guy who is friends with Einstein, another physicist, another genius, and he found that when we drink more than 2 to 3 ounces of water at a given time, it causes free flow. So if you take 8 ounces of water and drink it down, just chug it down, he said you'll absorb 2 to 3 ounces, and 5 to 6 ounces you'll just urinate off. And you can't count that as your water for the day, only the 2 to 3 ounces. So the professor, here's what I want you to do. I want your full volume of body weight divided by 2, plus that little extra, plus what I want you to do is do this. That much every 3 to 4 times every half hour based on your weight. So if you're heavier, 4 times, different times every half hour. Except 15 minutes before you eat, while you eat, to an hour after you eat. You ever heard of that before? Interesting, huh? It's kind of like, you ever poured a 5-gallon bucket of water on a tomato plant? It's going to run off. Versus a drip line, it's going to soak in. 100% of the class. We're talking, I think there was 36 in this course. 36 people. All 36, 4 times a day for that whole week, were hydrated. Now, why did we do it? We had to do the labs 4 times a day because we were graded on it. So we had to do the measuring. But isn't that amazing? The how we drink that water is so important. Years of research have found that when we are parched, we have more difficulty keeping our attention focused. What should we be our attention be focused on? Yes, on Christ. And so when we're dehydrated, the brain just doesn't work as good. We're more easy for Satan to go, right? Yes. Dehydration can impair short-term memory function and the recall of long-term memory. I remember as a little boy going to Meridian, Mississippi to see my great-grandmother, and she'd have me take my afternoon nap. And as I was laying there trying to sleep, and she sits there to make sure I'm laying down in her little rocking chair, and she's memorizing Bible text. And I said, Mama, why are you having to do that? She says, someday we will not have our Bibles, and we need those texts in our mind. Is that true? Yes. Dehydration can impair short-term memory function and the recall of long-term memory. It could be Bible text that you need to share. You have an opportunity as you have to go before courts to share the gospel, and you can't remember because you're dehydrated. The ability to perform mental arithmetic, like calculating whether or not you'll be late to work if you hit the snooze button another 15 minutes, is compromised when the fluids are low. The effects of dehydration on brain function depends on the severity of dehydration. This is from Psych Central. Excuse me. Mild dehydration may adversely affect mood, energy levels, and the ability to concentrate. This is from Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic says severe or prolonged dehydration may cause serious cognitive impairment, delirium, permanent brain damage, can even cause death. Who's ever read Batman Jotty? Your Body's Many Cries for Water. Excellent book. Excellent book. Batman Jotty was a physician and probably the most expert on water. I mean, he really was an excellent researcher on water. And Batman Jotty says a mere 2% in body water can trigger fuzzy short-term memory, trouble with basic math, a difficulty focusing on the computer screen or a printed page. Printed page. Do we ever read the printed page or something that would be the Bible? Batman Jotty continues, every function inside of the body is regulated by and depends on water. Every function inside the body is regulated by and depends on water. I used to have this guy who worked with me in the store. He was a retired optometrist. He worked there about 2.5 years. And he just came and volunteered and worked with us. And so anybody who had an eye issue, I'd say, Bill, can you help me on this one? And someone will come in with an eye problem, and Bill would say, the very first thing, how much water you drink? I've got a lady who comes in and sees me. She's a respiratory therapist. And every once in a while I'll say, anything new in respiratory therapy? You know what she says? Water. She says lung function, you have to have hydration. Batman Johnny says every function in the body. And when I took, I don't remember which course, but nutrition courses, and I remember one of them, the professor said that water is the train car that carries the nutrients throughout the body. Water must be available to carry vital elements, oxygen, hormones, and chemical messengers to all parts of the body. Without sufficient water to wet all parts equally, some more remote, distal parts of the body will not receive the vital elements that water supplies. Sunlight. Vitamin D boosts cognitive acceleration. In a study led by scientists at the University of Manchester in England, they looked at vitamin D levels and cognitive performance in more than 3,100 men in ages 40 to 79 in 8 different countries across Europe. The data showed that those people with lower vitamin D levels exhibited slower cognitive processing speed. Now, when I got out of school, they told us that if you had over a 32, now when you check your vitamin D blood level, they say, now it's supposedly 30 to 100. Well, when I got out of school, they told us anything over 32 was dangerous. Well, who knows Arvo Khanna? He's a neurologist, specializes in brain function. Arvo says that anything less than 60 affects brain function. So the normal is supposedly 30 to 100. Arvo says he does not want any of his patients less than 60. Vitamin D deficiency is a current epidemic in our society affecting 90% of the world's population. According to vitamin D expert Michael Hollick, we estimate vitamin D deficiency is the most common medical condition in the world. It is clear that most people are not getting enough healthy sun exposure. Why? People go to work, sun's up. People go home after the sun goes down. They don't get any sunshine. Or wear sunglasses. Who said that? Kime. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now get this one. Look at this one. This is really cool. A study published in the Archives of Internal Medicine showed that those who are classified as deficient in vitamin D were 42% more likely to have cognitive impairment. Meanwhile, those classified as severely deficient were 394% more likely to have cognitive impairment. Now, what are we talking about this morning? Preparing the brain for battle. That time that we are now dealing with the temptations that we get today. Are we tempted today? Absolutely. That's a battle. But as we get ready for the big battle, our brains have to run at top speed. These are things that we need to do to deal with today, but to even more so deal with what's to come. And people could say, well, I'll just pray. God will take care of me. You could tell your wife. This is your wife? It's a good thing. And you could tell her, listen, I prayed to God. I'm never going to eat again. He's just going to take care of me. God's going to say, listen, boy, I gave you a brain. I gave you food. Now use it. And that's the way God is. He gave us a brain to use, right? He did. And so we have the ability to learn. We need to do with that and take care of ourselves. This is Archives of Internal Medicine. Serotonin and brain function. Now we're coming to what you were talking about. Serotonin is an important chemical and neurotransmitter in the human body. It is believed to help regulate mood and social behavior, appetite and digestion, sleep, memory, depression. Here's the challenges. How do we increase serotonin? Well, as we go outside, well, let me tell you this story first that she's speaking about. It was in the book Sunshine by Dr. Kime. And there's an army in Africa that gets SAD. Now, who knows what SAD is? Seasonal affective disorder. Now, when I go to Alaska, Canada, those guys know what that is. Africa? I've been to Africa. There's plenty of sunshine. This army in Africa gets SAD. So they bring in this expert, this medical expert, to try to figure out why do they have SAD in Africa. And he's looking and he's looking. But wait a minute. Why all y'all got sunglasses on? Well, it's our new uniform policy. Take them sunglasses off. And guess what happened? It resolved the problem. See, what happens is, as ultraviolet comes through our eyes, it stimulates the pineal gland to convert tryptophan that was in your flaxseed this morning into serotonin. Now, yesterday morning, I went to our eye doctor, and I took the contacts. I haven't even told Mary Lou the story yet. I took the contacts in, her contacts, and on the box. And well, last time we went them, I said, now these have UV block. I don't want UV block. And they said, oh, okay. Well, they sent us more. So I went in and I took the box and I said, this says UV block. And they said, that brand, all they do is UV block. Now I need to find another brand. And they go, well, Mary Lou's going to have to come in on this and she's going to have to sit down with the doctor. Why? I said, because I don't want her getting SAD. I need that. I need her serotonin where it needs to be. And that UV block on her contacts is going to do the same thing it did at that army in Africa. So we got to pay attention. So we set up an appointment for a couple of weeks. You're going to go back and change your contacts. Here are the symptoms. Poor memory. That's not good. Low mood. Now, what is our mission we talked about last night? To point the sin-sick soul to Christ. If you got a bad mood, do people want your God? No. We need to be happy people. Not Pollyanna, but friendly and happy people. We don't need to be people who got a mood. Do you know anybody got a mood? I know people who's got mood, and they're not fun to be around. You cannot be a soul winner with a bad mood. When you have low serotonin, you can have a bad mood. Difficulty sleeping, low self-esteem, anxiety. Anxiety just went plumb crazy after COVID. As I talk with my buddies who have patients coming into their office, the neurologist I was speaking about Dr. Khanna, he's seeing so much more anxiety today. And other physicians from family practice to folks who are internal medicine, they're seeing so much more anxiety today than what they saw pre-COVID. Aggression. Then there's the one making the right decision, or temperance. Alcohol, drugs, tobacco. We're good. We don't have to worry about that. But is there more than those three? How about music? Can they just listen to any kind of music they want to? Why? It affects the mind. There's stuff in music that we do not want them little ears to hear. We don't want our little ears to hear it neither. Yes, it can lead into behavior. How about TV? Is there things on TV that shouldn't be watched? How about gaming? I was going somewhere from Knoxville. I went to Atlanta, got on a plane in Atlanta, and I was flying across the country. And there's some fella, he had a Mac computer just like this, and he was sitting up one seat ahead of me on the aisle. I was sitting on the aisle. And he was bouncing in the seat like a little young'un playing a game the whole way from Atlanta to out wherever I was going out there. And he was playing a game of killing people, blowing them up, using a knife, using guns. This guy was 40-some years old. And what happens is it's a reality issue. Someone makes them mad. Well, they've been killing people all the way on the plane. Well, I'll just pull up my knife and get you out of my way. And then they get messed up because gaming is not good. It's not good. It's plus a waste of time. There's stuff to be done, y'all. social media problem. Yes, it is. We're saying, did you see what Susie's husband got her for her birthday? Did you see where Sally's husband took her on vacation?
Yeah, and I want to go too.
Exactly. But you know what? Sally may not have gone there. She just made up the story. As we grow and develop, very special chemical reactions are activated and deactivate parts of our genome at strategic times and in specific locations, especially turning our genes on and off. Epigenetics is a study of this process and the factors that influence them. Y'all, another subject we could speak all week is epigenetics. And this is so cool. Genetically predisposed, we're now learning, is a huge misdiagnosis. You don't have to be locked in there. And as these researchers at MIT and these different highfalutin universities are looking at it, but you know what they're finding? These items we're talking about today, nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, exercise, can change your genes. That's the story of salvation, y'all. And if we follow these lifestyles, it can actually change, and you don't have to be plumb stuck into it. And I just think that's a real cool research that we're now learning. Proper air effects of pollution on the brain. Children's psychological and motor development is negatively affected. Negatively impacts brain white matter, which affects nerve conduction speed, brain inflammation. Negative effects executive functions such as planning and memory. Cognitive impairment, increased behavioral problems, crime rates increase. This is NIH. But it's not just the air that we breathe, it's also how we breathe. Whoever took voice? Okay? Now, did you ever learn to have to put a book on your stomach and it go up and down? Yes. Diaphragm breathing. There's too many people breathing like a chihuahua. And you don't, one, get enough air in, you don't get the bad air out, right? The poisons. You got to have diaphragmatic breathing. It's so important. So it's pure air and diaphragmatic breathing. Rest. A sleepy person's brain works harder and accomplishes less. A single night of poor sleep is linked to less efficient filtering, meaning one's brain has issues picking out important or relevant nuggets of information from all the insignificant junk one's senses absorb. Is that important that we be able to do that? As Satan just flood your mind, flood your eyes, flood your ears, flood your senses with junk. Do you need to be able to pick out the right stuff and the wrong stuff? If you're sleepy, these guys say it doesn't work as well. Is that important in a time of war? It is. This is University of California at San Diego. Mayo Clinic finds the following on sleep and brain function. Getting at least 7 hours of quality rest each night is essential for optimal health. Who noticed that June of 22, the American Heart Association added an 8th major cause of cardiovascular disease? Sleep, lack of sleep. Less than 7 hours of sleep, more than 2 days a week, significantly increases your risk for a heart attack, a stroke, and hypertension. It's So now as I sit down with a person, yes, there's a whole list of things I looked at for causing hypertension. According to the American Heart Association, I now need to add, how much sleep do you get? Because if you're getting less than 7 hours of sleep for more than 2 days a week, you're now significantly at risk for hypertension. Sleep provides the foundation for all daily habits and decisions. When does the day start? What does Genesis say? From even to even. What is the first major event that we do? Sleep. Can I borrow that? This right here. let's say this was my cell phone. Ooh, it's starting to run out. I better get some, I'll plug it in tonight. That'll give me enough energy for the rest of the day. Do I plug it in tonight so I can use it today? I charged it last night so I can use it today. That's the way God made us. Thank you. We've got to get our adequate sleep at night. That is the very first thing of these laws of health that we start with. We got to have sleep or the body doesn't run well. Sleep provides the foundation for all daily habits and decisions. Have you ever not gotten proper sleep? And this happens to me like the other morning when I was out at 11:30 at night till 2 something in the morning working that wreck on I-40. Does that affect my cognitive function the next day? It does. It also gave me this. When I'm on that house fire in the middle of the night for 8 hours, 6 hours, and maybe I got 2 or 3 hours sleep, does that affect my brain processing speed? It does. Merely to tell you it does. Sleep deprivation can negatively affect mood and temperament, as well as one's ability to focus on daily tasks. Lack of sleep influences what and how much one eats. Did you know that sleep deprivation makes a person more prone to gaining weight? Many of the research out there will tell you. Sleep Foundation will tell you. Just a number of folks will tell you that. Sleep allows time for the mind and the body to recover from the day's work. During the rapid eye movement stage of sleep, the brain sorts the important information from the unimportant and files long-term memory. If this stage of sleep cycle is shortchanged, mental focus and acuity can decrease. And so many people wake up throughout the night. They're not even getting to REM sleep because of pain, because of having to go to the bathroom because 7, 8 times because we've got prostate problems, or women are worrying about the kids. You know what I'm talking about. We're not getting this REM sleep. Sleep deprivation has the propensity to make one feel cranky and short-tempered. What is our mission? To point the sin-sick soul to Christ. Can you do that by being a person who's cranky and short-tempered? No. Guys, we are God's ambassadors. How we act depends on whether they want Him or not. We have a health food store. We buy from over 100 vendors. We have some that come and deliver to us. The person that represents that company is that driver who delivers to us. I've literally called and told the company, don't come bring to me no more, because I don't appreciate what your driver is doing. If you're cranky and short-tempered, are you going to be effective in pointing the sin-sick soul to Christ? No. Sleeping less than 7 hours a night is associated with weight gain, diabetes, high blood pressure, depression, body aches and pains, reduced immune function, and impaired performance at work. Most folks are saying 7 hours, but the Breezel-Belloc study in California is a 15-year study of 6,900 people. At first said 7 hours, but after the 9 years in this research of their study found less than 8 hours. The sweet time is 8 to 9. They found in the Breezel-Belloc study that you died quicker with less than 8 hours of sleep, and you died quicker with more than 9 hours of sleep. When the body and mind are well rested, one's ability to respond to life with greater perspective, or one is able to respond to life with greater perspective and understanding. Very important for us. Sleep can help boost one's motivation and willpower, making it easier to fend off. This is science. Can you imagine science said that? Making it easier to fend off temptations. That was amazing to find that in scientific literature. And this is the last one I'll speak on. Can anyone tell me what this venue is? Where is this? What's the location? Pardon? I heard it. It's a schoolhouse. In God we trust. Every Florida school and administrative building will be required to display "In God we trust" according to a bill passed by the Florida House on Wednesday. This was back in 2018. The bill states that phrase must be displayed in a conspicuous place. Tennessee. K through 12 public students begin classes next month. The national motto, "In God we trust," will be required to be posted somewhere in their schools. When I started going to the school system and I was teaching these laws of health to the little kids, I could not say this one. And so what I do is I say, "Kids, pull out your money. What's on every piece of money?" I couldn't say it, but they could. And I said, "Well, these doctors found that if you do what's on your money, you're healthier." But now today I can say "In God we trust" in the school system, because when you walk into one of the schools I go into, when you walk into the principal's, into the office, boom, right in front of your eyes is "In God we trust." Aren't you glad you live in Tennessee? Yeah. Arkansas schools to display "In God we trust." A new law in South Dakota now requires all public schools across the state to feature "In God we trust" model on display. Kentucky is the latest in the line of states requiring "In God we trust" motto in the public schools. It's on our bills. It's on our coins. It's on our police cars. This is one of my fire trucks. It's on our fire trucks. But my question to y'all this morning is on your heart. Do you have "In God we trust" on your heart? So as we look at these laws of health, as we look at, there's a time of war right now, and we deal with that on a daily basis. But y'all, Rwanda is going to be nothing to what we're about to experience. And if this is not on your heart, you ain't going to make it.